All dynamic forms of yoga practice have what we call a vinyasa, or it's actually part of our sun salutation as well. This comprises of some challenging postures linked together in a flow: chaturanga, upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. They can be difficult to master because we're always moving through them. So in this tutorial, I'm going to break them down for you so that you can see how to do them correctly and safely, and give you some modifications so that you can do the right variation for your body until you build up more strength. So we're going to start with setting our foundation. We're going to come onto all fours, and the important thing, no matter what variation you're doing, is that you keep your hands underneath your shoulders. Keep a nice strong line there. The fingers are spread, and you're pressing the pads of the fingers down into the floor as if you were trying to leave fingerprints into your mat. For the modified variation of plank, we're going to take the knees back a little bit further, so we've got a longer line from the tailbone to the crown of the head. We're moving into what's called chaturanga, and it's similar to a press-up. What we want to make sure is that we keep the elbows close to the body when we bend them and never bend more than 90 degrees. We want to keep the shoulders from rounding forward. In time, if we keep doing it with the shoulders rounded, then we get wrist, shoulder, and neck problems. So always think about sliding the shoulder blades down the back and keeping the elbows close to the rib cage. I'm going to demonstrate a few baby bends, practices of your chaturanga. So as I exhale, I take the chest forward and elbows towards the heels. And then inhale, I'm just going to push back up to where I was. And exhale again, activating the muscles in the back of the arms and then pushing back up. One more time, exhaling, bending, and pushing back up. The whole time it's very useful to keep the navel engaged to support the lower back. Now if I'm moving from chaturanga into up dog, I'm doing the same thing, but as I bend here, now I'm going to inhale, lift the chest, drop the hips, and press down into the tops of the feet so that the thighs activate. If you feel that's too much on your lower back, you can keep the knees resting on the floor. The torso lifts up away from the floor, and the shoulder blades slide down the back. Take a tiny bend in the elbows towards the heels. Keep the back of the neck long and the eyes looking directly forward. From here, we move into downward facing dog. So shift the hips back towards the heels. Keep pushing down into the hands so the shoulder blades lift towards the sitting bones. Tuck your toes under and then lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Set your feet so that the feet are hip distance apart and the knees can be bent as much as you need to if there's any tension in the backs of the thighs. The important thing is that we keep the length in the spine nice and straight. So now I'm going to demonstrate the more challenging version of our vinyasa, and with practice you can implement part or all of these principles as you feel more strong. So to set our plank, this time we're again going to keep the hands directly underneath the shoulders and pushing down into the earth to get that sensation of engaging in the torso. And we're going to straighten the legs back towards the back edge of our mat with the knees off. I want to put a lot of energy in my heels so that the thigh muscles start to activate. This is going to help me support my hips. I'm still pushing down into the earth with my hands to support around the shoulders. So when I'm doing my bends from full plank, again, my elbows are going to stay in towards my rib cage and the chest is going to move forward. I'm going to exhale, bending no more than 90 degrees. Inhale, back up to plank. Exhale, activating the back of the arms and the navel, back up to plank. One more time just to get that feeling. Little bend, back up to plank. Now to move into my upward facing dog, I'm going to move into chaturanga and then take the chest forward. So the exhale lowers me into chaturanga, inhale moving forward onto the tops of the feet, lift the chest up, slide the shoulder blades down the back. Elbows still tiny bend towards the heels, pressing the tops of the feet down and eyes looking directly forward. To move into downward facing dog, I'm going to push the hands down, lift the navel up, hips moving up towards the sky. Setting my feet hip distance apart and making sure the hands are still pushing down into the earth to lift the shoulder blades up energy in the thighs to support the hips. From here, I'm going to put it into a full sun salutation so you can see how it flows throughout the class. I'm going to start with the modified variation and break it down. We're going to set Tadasana, our mountain pose, by setting the big toe joints together, energy in the thighs. The tailbone's going to move down and slightly away. The front of the rib cage moves towards the back of the rib cage, shoulder blades moving down the back of the neck is nice and long, and crown of the head floating up towards the ceiling. On an inhale, taking the arms out to the side, palms together, looking up at your thumbs. And as you exhale, folding forward, bend the knees to support the lower back. You can take your hands to your ankles or fingertips to the floor, depending on what feels more comfortable. On your next inhale, lift the chest away from the floor. And as you exhale, place the palms flat directly underneath your shoulders. It's important that you keep this line, wrists and shoulders in the same line. I'm going to step back to my baby plank without moving the shoulders and taking the knees down to the floor. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, bend the elbows going no more than 90 degrees. Inhale, drop the hips, lift the chest, moving into your upward facing dog. Once again, you can leave the knees down or press into the tops of the feet to energize the thighs. As we move into downward facing dog, exhale, knees down, hips move back, tuck the toes under, and then lift them up towards the sky. Just taking a breath in and out in your downward facing dog, knees bent or straight depending on your hamstrings. And then moving back to standing, a little bend in the legs, looking in between the hands, and then stepping or walking your feet in between the hands. Inhale, lift the chest and lengthen. And exhale, fold. Once again, the knees can remain bent. Coming all the way back up to standing, arms out to the side as you inhale, coming all the way up, reaching up, palms together, look at your thumbs. And exhale, come right back to where we started. So now we're going to do the more challenging version of our full sun salutation. You can implement any parts of these practices once you feel strong enough to do so. We start in the exact same place, Tadasana, energy in the legs, navel gently in, shoulders back and down, and we'll start with hands in prayer position in front of the heart. On the inhale, reach the arms out to the side, palms together, looking up at your thumbs, and exhale, folding forward, hands to the floor, relax the back of the neck. Inhale, lift and lengthen into the chest, and exhale, place the palms down on the floor. Once again, it's important to keep the shoulders and the wrists in the same line. As you exhale, step back long to your plank, energy in the thighs, and then bend the elbows no more than 90 degrees for your chaturanga. Inhaling over the toes, upward facing dog, lifting the heart, and then exhale from the navel, lift the hips up into downward facing dog. Setting your downward facing dog, once again, spreading fingers, spreading toes, energy in the arms to lift the shoulder blades up, energy in the legs to support the hips. And then moving back to standing. As you bend the knees slightly, look in between the hands and inhale, stepping the feet in between the hands. Lift the chest away from the floor. Exhale, fold, belly towards the thighs. Relax the back of the neck. Coming to standing, inhale, arms out to the side. Coming all the way up, palms together, look up. And exhaling right back to where we started. I'm going to flow through this one more time, but just with my breath so that you can see how to just flow with the breath and the movement. So now you have all the principles for a good foundation for your vinyasa or your full sun salutation. Use these principles to always have a nice, safe practice.